All right, ladies and gentlemen, Eric is about to come on and rock your world. This guy is a master with language, with transforming men's lifestyle and the paradigm that they see reality through. So we're definitely going to dive in and unpack that and start to dismantle and rebuild the best you that you can be. Before that, I just want to say thank you for being here, for choosing to be your greatest possible self. Next, I want to share the iTunes review of the week, because this week it is Anthony A. who says, Chris the Man Burns. Every podcast episode gets better and better. Not only that, you can tell how present and interested Chris is in each of the experts he brings on the show. Anthony, thank you so much for that review. And if you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on your Apple Podcast store, and you can give us a review there. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, and how we can improve the show for you. I'm going to introduce Eric in just a sec. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. We're going to dive into the tactics, the strategies, the things that actually move the lever and move the needle in your life, in your performance, in your psychology. So stay tuned all the way through to the end, because one of these things has the power to change everything for you. As the contemporary face of masculinity in the golden age, Eric Von Sydow, aka Hypnotica, embodies the essence of the archetypical Renaissance man, while pulsating a new vibratory field of I am possibility. As one of the original architects of the new man's lifestyle movement, Von Sydow is responsible for leading legions of males toward unheralded heights of redefined manhood. As one of the founding fathers of the new movement in masculinity and lifestyle, he was an early mentor to now famous figures like Neil Strauss, The Game, and David DeAngelo, Double Your Dating. A primal embodiment of art, poetry, culture, music, fitness, and yes, sex, Von Sydow has instructed, encouraged, and incited men to enhance their mental, spiritual, and sexual well-being. And under his tutelage, thousands of men now boast success not only in their personal love relationships, but also in their overall lives. And that is just the tip of the iceberg with this epic human being. Eric, are you ready to bring the heat, my brother?
Ready to bring it.
All right, we are live and become your greatest possible self, my man. Welcome to the show. We're going to dive right in. We're diving in. Dating, communication, romance. What does that mean for you, bro?
Two, obsolete. One, need expandedness. To me, dating, obsolete. I don't tell guys that really they should date. I think that there's courting, but dating to this day and age, it's just arcane. There's a whole different social network that's out there. Most people that I know, they don't date. They go out, they test the waters. You got Bumble, you got Tinder, plenty of fish. And most of the girls I know are so backlogged with guys wanting to meet them that it's just a matter of basically meeting, seeing if they connect. But dating, I think it's just a thing of the past to a degree, unless you're traditional and maybe into some of the more traditional foundations. It's okay. That's on dating. Communication and romance, that's timeless. Those are things that as your communication evolves, and your communication not only in language but your understanding of each other broadens, and you get to know the richer foundation of what's going on in a person's mindset, then it expands, and then it can just enrich the person. It can deepen, it can widen the interactions that they have and the intimacy people share. So those two, good. Dating, not so much.
I love it, man. I think
that's my unique point of view.
It's beautiful, because I think dating is a common word in how to the mechanism to attract or create that loved one or significant other or partner or romance or whatever it might be. And I love how you say it's like it's kind of outdated, that model, versus the courting and just like knowing who it is that we want to attract and then calling that person into the field. Like you're all about like the energy and the psychology and like these beautiful like quantum realm as well. So I think it's just a badass layer to add on to like the traditional things that we used to live by and like think were the truths. And now you're like setting people free and saying, hey, you can be whoever you want to be. You can create your reality.
Now, I'm not saying it's the best way. I want to make sure you understand, for one reason and a few reasons, is unfortunately in society we've been taught, we've been brainwashed, we've been basically inundated in the traditional movie roles where a person sees each other and they're instantly in love and things like this. To me, that's totally backwards of where it should be.
Mm.
And unfortunately, a movie probably wouldn't sell if you're seeing things about, hey, what are your values based on? What are the things you enjoy?
Right.
What are your morals?
Right.
And so, unfortunately, a lot of people look at the dating sites and there's not really a need to date anymore because it's such a visual swipe left, swipe right, and that's the unfortunate. So, like I said, I'm not saying it's better.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that at this day and age, most people don't really need to go that way until they realize through the hard way, hey, the looks aren't everything, and it really comes down to what is it you have in common? What are your values? What are your ideals?
Yep.
And that's really the important thing about it. So, like I said, just because I said it's obsolete, it doesn't mean that it's the best way.
Right. And I think, you live a very awesome lifestyle for a lot of men. They would look up to you and say like, hey, Eric's style of how he lives and how he courts and how he has, women in his life, they would say like, that's awesome. And I know we were talking out on our pre-interview and how saying like, just being honest and upfront and saying, this is like what I stand for. These are my boundaries. If you lie, if you cheat, if you steal, whatever, like you're out, you're done, like this is the limits of like where I'm willing to go, and as long as you stay within those limits, we're going to have an amazing time. But if you cross that line, then there's no going back.
Yeah, pretty much. It's all or nothing. And really, to me, it's just like I said, I don't want to say there's like, it's not from a controlling point of view. It's from an abundant point of view, saying, hey, this is what I want to attract into my life.
Yeah.
These are the things that I know myself. I've explored over the years. I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know what I like, what I dislike. And there's no medium ground. It's like if you cross that, you've been fair warned, and that's okay. And I hold the same standard for the women in my life, and I hope that they would do the same for me as far as that goes. And it just, once there's that communication, that understanding, because my lifestyle is completely different from most people's. Most people don't have, and they look at it and they don't understand it. But to me, it's a fantastic thing where, I have a wife, I live with a wife. I have probably 6 girls that I'm intimate with. They come over, my wife and them are friends. My wife has a guy who, she enjoys being with. He's out in Phoenix. He came over. I invited him to one of my parties. We get along great. And as long as, everyone's up front, to me, everything's just better. Once you get past the fear, once you get past the jealousy, and those are just primal states of mind that I think, and like I said, this is not for everyone. This is, what people, are very curious about how I do it. Not everyone can do it. But it's all based upon like, this is what it is. And I think it's healthier. I think our tradition, I think, really is some of the tribes we're with. There's a community. Now, unfortunately, the nuclear family here in America, or wherever it is, it's, husband, wife, maybe kids, dog. So I think a lot of the communication and the intimacy and the community gets lost in just these little houses. So one of the things nice, because, I'm a really busy guy. So I have a lot of things on my plate. I have projects, I have art projects, music projects. I got production projects. I got people I have to be with and things like this. And a lot of time is taken. So do I expect, say my wife or a girl that I'm seeing to just sit there in the background and do nothing? To me, that makes no sense. I would rather her be happy, or have communication, have intimacy, have, community to share with. I just think the nuclear family, to me, if there's anything that scares the shit out of me, I don't get afraid of a lot of things. That makes me feel really weird, because I think it's a lot of pressure and it's a lot of commitment that people have to do. And if one person's really busy, one person's not, one person's expecting, to me it just seems odd. So I would rather people, when I'm busy, hey, they're out doing projects, they're making candles, they're doing jewelry, and it just seems to flow better. And that's just the way it is. That's why I look at everything else. I'm like, I think I'm the normal one, because I don't have fear, I don't get mad, I just have some very high moral ground. It sounds weird coming from me, but it's like, honesty and things like that. That's what's important to me.
Well, it's also cool because the high moral ground is you just really know who you are. and you know what you value, and it's not traditional. It's not what most of society would say, I want that, or I understand that, or whatever, right? Like it's different.
Well, depending on what century we're living in. I mean, there was a time where, it's, I don't know if it backtracked or did something else, but to
Right.
me, it's like, it's been around.
Yeah.
I just think that most people are very, and don't get me wrong, my parents have been married 52 years.
Yeah.
I can appreciate monogamy.
Yeah.
I just completely sucked at it. And I knew that it wasn't for me, and I fought and I battled, and I just didn't have any other choice. And then finally I just said, this is not fair to me. It's not fair to them, me bouncing back. And so I know my own personal sweet spot of what I feel is the perfect balance for me.
Well,
So to me, it's been around, and it's just a matter of, just leaving people alone, letting them do their thing, as long as it's beneficial to those people and everyone grows and everyone, just evolves and learns. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think it's know thyself. That's the key here, man. And we're gonna go back into your journey, because I know you've invested a lot of time, money, energy, and like just wisdom, experience, being around some of the greats of your industry, and teaching some of them as well. Tell us a little bit more about the evolution of your journey and being a lifestyle specialist and Hypnotica, and like adding this value to people's lives.
Well, it started like, before 26 years ago, but it started when I was just a kid who was probably the worst that they could be with women. I had a high voice. I was fat, freckles, missing teeth, bowl haircut. Uh, did not know how to communicate with women at all.
Yeah.
And I just remember I was like, this is not happening.
Mm.
So I basically, threw myself into the situations of, no matter what, I'm going to crash and burn. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to get better with it. I'm going to do everything it takes in order to achieve this level that I want. And I've far succeeded the level that I ever even thought was possible. I mean, if I would have told me my lifestyle today, I would have said, you're out of your mind. That's not even happening. And so it's been an evolution. It's been a continual refinement of who I am, utilizing all my skills from neurosemantics, hypnosis, NLP, anything that I could get a hold of, shamanistic, psychedelics, just complete exploration. So it's been a long process. I put myself in very extreme situations. When I was in high school, I said, okay, well, where am I going to learn about this? Well, then I went to the choir. There's like 80 women and, a few guys. So I was in that environment. I started to learn about women there. Then I sucked so bad at eye contact. I said, where can I at least practice this where I'm not going to get thrown in jail? Where you just can't go up and practice this. And I didn't really have any women in my life that I could do that with. So I went into a strip club, and there, at least, I could pay $1 and I can at least get the eye contact. But I remember just in those initial ones, I couldn't even keep the eye contact. It was terrifying for me. And so in there, at that point, I became more athletic. The only thing that I had back in the time was I just started working out, became obsessed with working out. I got my body in incredible shape for high school and even out of high school. That's all I did. So at that point, that was the basis of my self-esteem. Yeah. I was like, okay, I had the body and everything like this. That's all I really had going for me at the time. And so, I was in shape, and I remember being there, and I remember, I think I helped out, or I stood behind one of the bouncers who was having something going on. And they said, hey, we need someone else. Would you like to work here? And now that was a unique situation, because that's an extreme setting too. And I didn't know the first thing about women. So that got me into the strip club. And then I went 26 years in the strip club, from going from bouncer to head of security to general manager, and then to the one where I ran the biggest clubs, the best clubs in San Diego. And in that unique experience, dealing with 50 of the most what society would consider beautiful women, but at the same time, very manipulative, in a very dark setting, for the most part. Strip clubs are not all fun and dandy. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on in there. And so, immersing myself, I just forged this character through, meditation, because in that environment, I made it a rule. I said, nobody can work more than 4 days in this environment. And then the way I had to set it up is, including me.
Yeah.
If you're going to work 4 days off, you have to have 3 days off in a row, because it's so draining, not only spiritually, mentally, physically, when you're dealing with, alcohol, I would say like desperation to a degree, weird situations, no sunlight. It's just one of those things. So, in that, I had to really power myself up and go back to my meditations, go back to my hypnosis, because the average person is going to last 5 years. 26 years in a strip club, for the most part, is almost unheard of to thrive still and look good and feel good. And through the process of that, I had to get good with different type of relationships. I saw all kinds of relationships. Every girl came through. I had to build them up quickly. They'd walk out and, they'd have just, sometimes you got real asshole guys and they'd say, hey, your ass is too flat, your tits are too this. And they'd come in the back, they'd have their breakdowns. And my job was to get them right back up. So I used a lot of my skills to get them back out there, get them laughing again, pump them back up, get back out there and do money and make the money and stuff like this. So mine was a requirement to really work quick in my change and my transformation technology that I know to get people going. And to this day, I still have, when I walk in there, different clubs, still to this day, they get people that are like, hey man, like, the way you ran it was just way different than most people, so I kind of brought that. I think that was kind of the gift that not only I gave them, but they gave me back, is just forging yourself and being that light in that environment, which is odd in itself. So from there, it was just learning and evolving. And, sometimes it's going too hard. You can't go too hard in there and you can't go too soft, because if you go too soft, you'll get run over. You go too hard, people aren't going to like you. The vibe in the place is going to go down and it's not going to be a fun environment. So creating that perfect vibe where girls trust you and things like this. And I did a lot of private parties. I used to bring girls to parties as their bouncer, and I'd have to take care of girls that would be just completely, sometimes they get just thrashed. So I'd have to carry them, put them in bed, tuck them in, make sure they were cool. Times that, Joe actually met one of them that came, I haven't seen her in 9 years. She's like, it was a black girl. And she's like, Eric, you're the only person that ever really had my back in that industry. Wow. There's times where I was just destroyed and you would not let me drove. And she goes, I even remember waking up in your bed, not my bed, but, I brought her to her house, tucked her in, made sure she was good. She goes, you never took advantage of me. She goes, you're the only one that had my back. And so coming through that, you really have to have that fine line of, protection, because there's a lot of guys that will take advantage of that situation. So it's learning to be that guardian at the same time, being powerful but at the same time, flexible and not overbearing, and, run it loosely. So I don't want, a dog on a leash. Right. I want the dog to be there and have its option to do what it wants, as long as it's, not going to go hurt people or things like this. So that's been the evolution, and a lot of self-exploration. I've done a lot of psychedelic journeys, a lot of things that most people are just would never understand. So that's why I kind of bring a little bit different aspect to it, because I've done things and most people will never do in their life. I've seen things most people never do. So when I come at it to work transformation, I've been there. I've done that. When guys are like, "Oh man, I have a problem with the woman," I'm like, "Well, cool. Like, I've had 15 before, so let's figure it out. Okay, it's right here. You have 2? Oh, that's easy, man. Check this out." So one of my quotes is basically like, "I go to the extreme, so you don't have to." So I'm constantly pushing myself, and sometimes, sometimes I worry myself because I'm going a little too far, and so I have to find that. But once I understand that balance, I'm much more powerful to people, to give them that kind of unique perspective. And things like that. That's why, I'm very shamanistic in my ways. And it's like the shamans, the 2 most powerful people in a tribe were the chief and the shaman. And the shaman usually always lived outside of it, because he didn't want to get into what the typical person gets into. That's why his unique perspective was so valued at the time, because they could go out there and he didn't see things. So he always had a different perspective to go by. So that's kind of been the full run of the gamut of where we're at, and this is where we're at now. So
I love it, and I want to dive into at what point, or what was the transformation, saying, hey, I want to take what I've learned in the strip club, in this industry, and all the practices that you're doing with NLP and all this other work that you're doing, and say, hey, I want to empower men. Or is that along the journey? How did that happen?
Yeah, it was basically along the journey. So at that time, I mean, a lot of the kids and the students these days, they're like, "Oh man, I don't get it. It's been like 4 months and I'm trying it." I'm like, dude, this took me 26 years. I didn't have the internet. I didn't have any mentors. I mean, I remember I was going through my searching phase a long time ago. And it's kind of a funny story. I read the book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. And so I don't know if you read that. I was like looking for my Socrates. I was like, "Man, I'm ready. I'm here. Like, come on. Like, where's this person?" Because there was no internet. there was no mentors. I didn't know anyone growing up that lived or thought the way that I did, as far as, what I wanted and the visions that I see in my mind about relationships. There was nothing. And so I remember this one time I was, the stereotypes. I remember I was down at this place called Controversial Bookstores. It was like one of the only places in San Diego that had alternative metaphysical books. And I remember seeing this Rastafarian. He's like sitting on the bench right up front. I'm like, oh man, Rastafarian, John Love. Like he understands this one love that I was searching for, because I was just a confused kid back in the day. And I remember I was like, okay. So I went and I like kind of sat down next to him, like real close. He's like, hey, motherfucker, why don't you scoot the fuck away? What the fuck's wrong with you? I'm like, well, I guess that's not it. So much for John Love and things like this. So this whole world just kind of just opened up to me, really. And I had to basically be that person. So when I tell guys, I'm like, look, man, I go, you guys have it so easy. I mean, you got great coaches that are just giving advice. I had to like figure out all this stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything. I didn't have any quick fix things. I had to get to it, get down and dirty into it and figure it out. And along the way I would share. I've always been an abundant mindset person. So, I would share, and like way back before they totally mislabeled it like pickup artist, which I think is the stupidest name in the world. It basically hijacked what we were doing. We were basically like getting together as men saying, hey, I don't know what to do here. This is what this confidence here. Hey, this works. So it was basically learning about ourselves and sharing information and stuff like this. And, a couple of years, masterminding. And basically, the Neil came through and the pickup artist thing came through, and they completely sidetracked it where it is. Now, I haven't even read the book, The Game. I'm in the game and I haven't even read it. I just read my chapter, but that was it, because nothing really about it really attracted me. And because it was just, I didn't want to send men in that direction. All these guys are now like, I'm a pua, a pickup artist. I'm like, okay, well, if that's your identity, if that's what you think that's it, you're really lacking, because really, to me, it's always been about the rise of the Renaissance man. I'm like, if you only have that, what happens when your one trick pony dies? So look at all these pickup artists. How are their relationships doing? In the best ones, supposedly, in the world, they all suck. Once they're getting past their little facade, their little paper champion, paper tiger things, they're screwed. Yeah. They don't have a base. They don't have a fundamentals. They don't have any really powerful things to talk about. They're just they're stuck. They have no base as a human being. For a lot of them, they're lost. They have no basis for being a man. They don't even know what the most powerful parts of a man are. You have your like integrity. You have your health. You have your guardianship. I mean, these are the things, and within there's all kinds of different other things to go by, but they just don't have it. I'm like, how are you well-rounded? Are you artistic? What do you do? Are you just this pickup artist, and that's who you are? So yeah, it's come full circle, and now I can really just kind of like just help guys get to where I think they want to go, and just because they think they want to go somewhere doesn't mean that's where they want to go.
Right.
Sometimes that in itself reveals that the path that they thought they wanted isn't. So it's like I said, it goes this way, it goes that way.
Yeah, it's just the impetus to start the journey, whatever the vision is. For me, when I was 21, joining direct sales, I was like, I want money, I want cars, I want women. Let's go. And like that's what started me. And along the journey, I was like, well, is that really what's important? Is that really what fulfills and nourishes my soul? Or is there like something deeper? Is there a bigger reason for my existence and serving and developing my gifts and having fun and all these different capacities like you're talking about being the Renaissance man? There's like so many beautiful aspects to explore in life, so many different arts, so many different skills, so many different crafts and mastery journeys. It's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, and the more you can get into it, the better. I mean, there's so much right now that's available. So it's in the best time.
Yeah. I want to dive into language though, because I know you're deep in language, NLP, and using that to like create the map of our reality. What do we need to know about language, man?
Well, language basically will set the foundation. Language to a degree creates reality, at least in our minds. It creates the map, and the wider and the more choices. And the more flexibility you have with your own language, the wider and more refined your map is. It's a very simple analogy, or basically a way to look at it is the Eskimos. We see snow. Maybe we see snow and yellow snow. Yep. That's it. they have like, I think it's 20 something words for snow. They know this is dangerous snow. This is snow you can eat. This is snow you can pack with. So they had to create the different words for it because that's how much richer their world had to be in order to survive.
Yes.
So when I'm talking about confidence, which if I tell people, and I've done a lot of exploring in the meta states and the really building up my own neurology to, if I'm going to go on default, I want to go into a positive mental set default or a state of mind. So I tell most people, okay, tell me negative emotions you have. And they'll usually riddle off around 12. And I say, now tell me the ones you most feel positive. And sometimes it's right around 7. They have their primary states, well, confidence, joy, happy. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you have? And so it means that they haven't really defined it. They haven't really worked it. They haven't really created theirs, because you can create anything from your neurology. And so if their mind goes on, let's call it like random, okay, if it goes into, they're going into their mindset and they're going to start downloading, and the chances are they're going to go to a negative state faster than a positive state. So I sat down, I basically refined all my different ideas of confidence. I said, okay, well, there's confidence. Great. Okay, well, what does charismatic confidence feel like? Okay, it's different than confident. So, I'd sit there and I'd say, okay, charismatic confidence. I'd go through, work it in, build it up, create it. Then I'd say, okay, what about commanding confidence? Okay, there's another one. Okay, cool. There's that one. What about charming confidence? Okay, there's another one. What about being desirable? What about dominantly desirable? What about desirably dominant? What about, powerfully persuasive? So I literally must have had 100 states that I basically created and I installed and I mapped out in my mind. And so now if my brain goes on default, basically chances are it's going to go into a positive one, because I have 100 and something different states to choose from. And maybe, I've kind of whittled it down now, maybe 3 or 4 negative states, and those are primary states. So I could get pissed, that's one of them. I can be really protective, and I can sometimes, get a little bummed out on things, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. And so my ability to go into all kinds of different states is something that I enjoy. And it's funny because, I got to a place of Zen, and I think Zen is completely overrated. I think it's actually boring. Like, to me, to be a real human being, like, I want to go through all the emotions. Like, I want to feel, I'm okay with like feeling good, and I'm okay with sometimes feeling bad, and I'm okay with feeling anger and stuff like this, because it allows me to have the flexibility to be a fully embodied human. I'm mad because I'm mad at the moment, and then two minutes later I can get over it. But I want to experience that. And I think, that's to me where the fun is. Like, I want to buy into the movie that I know I'm living anyways. Like, let's get involved and play with it. And so, I have all these different ways of doing it. I just think that's the healthier thing to do, because like, I don't want to repress. I want to feel. If I'm pissed, I want to get pissed. Okay, I'm not pissed because I'm an angry person. I'm pissed because sometimes I just feel like doing it.
Well, there's a difference between controlled emotion, controlled anger, controlled rage, and saying, I'm going to give myself permission to just unleash, right? And there might be a little bit of uncontrolled in there and just like, hey, I just want to let it go. But it's the distinction of, you're not a boiler pot that just is blowing your steam at every little thing that happens. No, it's like you've really refined this emotional intelligence and muscle. And if something angers you, it serves its purpose to release that, to fuel you, to say, this is what I stand for, this is what I don't stand for. And I'm going to be crystal clear about that. And I'm going to show you like how intense I can be when the emotion calls for it,
Yeah, I'll tell you experience. It was funny because I was the general manager. We're throwing this big party at the club, and we had to get permits done. And one of my managers was in charge. He had to get it signed that day because we were putting a lot of money into it, bringing in bands, DJs, all kinds of stuff. And he didn't get it signed. And I had the clipboard in my hand. The other manager, the assistant manager, was in the office. Then I got pissed, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I bam, just throw the fucking clipboard against the wall, and I just get up pissed, walk in there, walk out the door, open the manager's office, slam the door, look at it, and I go, it's pretty good, huh? So, so they were like this.
Yeah.
So I could experience it. I could go through it, scare the shit out of people, but, pop back on because I think it is useful, on some degree. Sometimes you have to put the bluff up.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, what is human? To me, human is being fully access to as many emotional states as you can, to a degree, but not getting caught into them.
Yeah.
Experiencing them, but not getting trapped.
Yeah.
And I want to have, the more rich experiences I can in my neurology, the better. And so coming back to the question to really answer, full circle, like those hypnotic closing loops, things like that. It's basically like, language creates it. And the reality that I come from is, I don't think this is like Earth. Like I believe this is my own universe, which to me it is. Yeah. And Hypnotica, which we're all talking back to that, another loop closed. I'm sure those of you in hypnosis understand what's going on. Is to me, which is pleasure, erotic pleasure, sexual pleasure. Those have been things that have, ever since I was a kid, I love to explore. Even if it was by myself, it's okay. Me and a couch or a rock, it's all good. And so coming through this thing, it was like, that's what it was. So Hypnotica to me was not only like the brand, but it was also this like world that I created. Pleasure. It's like, just good feelings. People feel good. And so when I use my language, which a lot of the things I'm really good at is like sleight of mouth, or what they call mind lines, which are like 14 different ways to reframe language. You basically, I'm trying to make my language be able to widen their gap, because I have to introduce them to my world. So they may not even have the map or the model, but when I can basically like, the two most powerful things in NLP, it all basically boils down to this: anchoring and reframing. And that's either context or content reframing. Everything else is kind of like fluff. So when I understand those things and I have like the mind lines, I can basically fit any kind of belief system into it. I can just blast doors. That's why, to me, as I want to say, a transformational specialist, I get pissed at myself if I have to see people longer than 3 times, because like I should have the tools as long as they're willing.
Right.
Like I don't believe in this come back again. Like, I make transformation happen as quickly as possible, because I had to when I was in those situations. If I had people, talking suicidal, I had to get right to it. Yeah. I had to blow these people out real quick. So that's where a lot of the therapies came in, and my own ability to step in real quick and not be the traditional therapist. Like, I don't want to be empathetic. I don't want to be compassionate. I want that person to think like, you dumb motherfucker. What? You're afraid to walk up to a girl? You're afraid to hug people? That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I want them to realize, like,
you break their model. You break their frame.
Break their frame. And I do it in a tricky way for, a lot of times, which is, these are like little slick little things I've learned along the way. I mean, just with language. Remind me of the one with, the girls where I'm fat. Okay, I'm going to tie back to that. But in case I get off control, so talking to Joe, he's sitting there. So even language, as far as like the little things like butt. Okay, but in the English language is, most people know, when you hear a butt, here comes the meat. So, oh, I really like that butt. Whatever they just said negated it. So they say, oh, you're a really nice guy, but. And so one of the things that I switched off is wherever, this is like for sales, but it's very powerful how language can affect things. So in sales, a person's like, oh man, I really like this. Or they say, yeah, it's kind of expensive. Or they say, I really like this, but it's kind of expensive. So where does their mind end? Their mind ends, I really like this, but they negated it. And their mind goes to, it's really expensive. So even like little subtle shifts like this, and this is pretty ninja stuff here. I say, okay, so it's really expensive, but you really like it. So by flipping it around, using the but to negate the expensive, get them focused on the mind of what is possible.
Yeah.
So there's things like that you can do.
Yeah.
And like when I'm working with therapies and stuff like this, and I learned this from a therapist named Frank Farley, very, very unique therapist. He would basically, his thing was, I want to get in their reality, whatever it is, and I want to completely ruin it for them. And so he did stuff. He worked in a mental ward, and Richard Bandler talks about these sometimes, but it's basically Frank Farley stuff where a guy would be saying, oh man, I'm Jesus Christ. And he'd be in the insane asylum, and he'd be like, oh, cool. And he'd come in with these big, all, long penny-inch nails and be this wood.
The cross.
Like, yeah. I said, well, what are you doing? He said, well, you're Jesus Christ, right? Well, it comes next. Or he'd say, oh, you're a carpenter, right? Well, hey, I got this project over here. Yep. So he goes in there and ruins it. So a lot of times, like girls, then I use this a lot, and it's, some people will go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying shit like that," but it works. So if you, let's say a woman's like, I'm ugly, and you're like, "No, you're not." They're going to do is resist. They're not going to buy it.
Right.
So one of the things I did is if they say, "Oh man, I'm ugly," and I say, "Yeah, you want to make $1 million?" And they're like, "How?" I go, "All we got to do is cast your face. We'll go to the mask making for Halloween. I guarantee it will be the scariest mask out there. Everyone will be terrified of that mask." And they're like, "Fuck you, I'm not that ugly." And that's the point you want to get to.
Yeah.
Because before they're not defending themselves.
Right.
Now you pushed it to the extreme.
Yep.
And went further. Now they're in a point where now they're resisting everything else, but now they get to the point where they're defending themselves because they have a basis of their self-esteem. That's what you build off of. Same thing with like, "Oh, I'm fat," and I go, "Yeah, I was going to get some coconut oil." Or why? Because I figure if I rubbed it on your elbows, you'd be able to get through the front door easy. I'm not that fat, And so that's where I want to get to. Yeah. There's nothing I can do if I say, "No, you're not fat." They're not going to create that in their mind.
Right.
They're going to just resist it. It's like the reticular activating system. Yeah. They're not even going to see it. So by me going extreme, and really exaggerating it, now they have to come back. They have to defend themselves, and they wouldn't defend themselves if there wasn't some part of themselves that loved themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where I start from. Wow. So yeah, language could be really cool, and that's how I keep my therapy fun, because I basically get to fuck with people's models of the world in a good way. Yeah. And that's what keeps it fun. I'm not sitting at the end, I'm like, "Oh, I'm so depressed. Like, Jesus Christ." Like, I won't even deal with it. They come out with beliefs. I'm going to reframe that belief 150 different ways through like the patterns of mind life. I can go to exaggeration. I can go to the criteria levels. Give me any belief. I say, throw anything you want at me, and just watch how quick I can flip it around, because I have those patterns in my mind to be able to look at any problem through. So. A lot of stuff like that. That's what makes it fun, like transformation fun.
Yes. I love it, man. So you've been sharing the light for all these years, right? Like what you learned, what you picked up along the journey. Where are you at now? Like what is your commitment? What's your vision, your mission to keep bringing to the world? Is it still the same it's always been? Has it evolved? Like how would you articulate it now?
Well, I've been kind of going under the radar for a long time. Like, I could have gone big a lot of times with, the guys, because, they were top in the field, and I just didn't really feel like I wanted to release myself yet. That's why I didn't push on any of my music, any of my videos, really didn't push too hard, because I was kind of building this foundation. Whereas if I went big or, really pushed it hard, I wouldn't be in the position where I'm at. Like right now, my house is basically like a retreat center. It's got everything you got. It's unique. People come in, they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." It's like a mix between Pirates of the Caribbean and Shaman World, and it's just it's a trip as far as that goes. So yeah, there's all kinds of different little rooms and healing mechanisms. I mean, you got sound lounge therapy, saunas, massage water beds. Every little gizmo and gadget for health and therapy would be there. But I want to make sure that I had a place where if people wanted to come and get good transformation, it's basically like an intensive where they stay here. So I wouldn't be able to really reflect that. And once I get going, I would have never been able to finish this project to get it to the point where I want it. So this year is the year I'm coming out. It's just kind of winding up, and I'll be pushing hard in 2020, because I want to bring the, this consciousness to men. Because there's this whole thing on toxic masculinity and all that bullshit. And I think there's toxic people, but that's anywhere.
Yeah.
But to give men a real good model about what does it mean to be a man. Yeah. Like my car's a Prius. Okay. It's not the most manly car in the world, but I'm cool with it. I like it. It's one of the best cars ever. So, these guys, I need a big truck and I need a big pit bull. Man, I got a Yorkie. I have a Yorkie too. I have a Maltese.
Yeah.
It's basically like masculinity first of all, is never going to go out of style. True masculinity. Yep. And secondly, like men need to know that it's okay. We're sexual creatures. We're from the sex seed. I mean, that's basically what it is. We're the sex seed gift from all of our ancestries, all of our heritage, and we're the sum total of all of it. Things like this. So that's what I really want to, teach men. And it's really about this like ultimate man thing. And that's what I've been really working on and breaking down, because like the master crafter or the ultimate man really has like the three cores. It's like you have your value. This is the basics of a man. You have your value, strength, leadership. I think that's the core of what men are. And right here, so you value yourself, you value your tribe, and you value in your world. Those can all be explored. In your strength, you have body, mind, spirit. You have to develop those, or you're not going to get the full expression of who you are. Leadership, you have your like vision, you have your guardianship, as far as that goes, your protection, and your ability to bring something powerfully to the table so that people can follow. So, really breaking that down is, what is a powerful man? What are the aspects of a powerful man? A healthy powerful man,
right.
A powerful man that protects. A real powerful man. I don't even believe in this alpha male stuff. Guys like, oh, I'm an alpha male. I'm like, sorry to hear that, because alpha male, look to like dominate others. You can't dominate me. You can. I can just look at you like you're needing control to build your self-esteem up. But a real power person leads by example and creates a good, fun vibe, but a very defined and boundaryful one, but in a healthy way.
It's also the archetypes, like the king, the warrior, the lover, the magician, right? Like being able to be all of those.
But even that, I mean, I still think, because I thought about that. I'm like, these are important, the king, lover, magician. But I'm like, well, where's the archetype, the hunter? The hunter is just as powerful as any one of those. I know they don't talk about it in that book, warrior, magician, lover, but what about the hunter? The hunter's got to go out there. The hunter's got to provide. If you're, a warrior, like, you got to go out there. You have to hunt. As a man, you got to go out there and meet people.
That's right.
So to me, it's even refining it a little bit more and adding the hunter archetype in there to really, bring that across, because in this world, that's what we have to be.
Yep.
And I don't mean hunting like, hunt and kill. It means like, you have to get out of your house for the most part, go out there, see the real world. You're going to have to do something, not all the time. The internet's, caused that to shift a little bit, but I think it's good that we explore that archetype as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good, man. So with the men that you're empowering, like, what's the way that they can get involved with you? Like, do you have different programs? They can come to your retreat center. What else, man? Or you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, you can do that. And it's not just men. I have women too. Okay. It's like, it's funny because I have a few lesbian clients, and lesbian clients that I've taught a lot of these things too. And I have a 21-year-old right now that I'm teaching her, how to do this, because people just don't know. They don't know about dynamics and things like this. But for the men's group, they have a Facebook group that's free.
Yep.
Great guys. Like, like some of these groups, you got these trolls in there, and it's like little adolescent high school shit. These are great guys that study everything from, language and self-esteem, and it's nothing but pure quality people in there. And that is a free group that men can go to, and that's like the Master Circle, and that's on Facebook. I had a YouTube channel, got censored, shut down, which was unfortunate. But you can see some of my videos. It's like Ask Hypnotica, and that's at Vimeo under Eric Von Sydow. And really what it is now I want to bring people here, because I will set up and I tailor everything according to what it is they need. If I need to see them involved in a party situation, I have it here. I don't know if you can see my room, but I mean, this is my office to a degree.
That's awesome.
So I can throw those things. If it's like just stuff that I got to just work out and grind, we just sit there and we work it out and we grind it. Yeah. So it's completely, it's called evolution overhaul. And that's really where it is. It's just bringing people in, 1, 2, 3 people at my house, full immersion. And, that could be for anywhere from a couple days to a week. And it's grueling because we go through everything, and I just roll up my sleeves, and usually it's like 8 hours a day, but I end up going like 12 hours a day because I just love it until, they're frazzled and fried. And so that's really where it's at. And just, putting out more stuff and really just getting to the creativeness and hitting motivation and things from a whole different view. Like, I don't know if you saw my Facebook, like Eric Von Sydow, if they want to see it, I put the dark side of motivation. It's called The Massacre of the Mediocre Duo. And basically it's like really dark, kind of twisted Dr. Seuss storytelling about lazy and procrastination and how, and kind of twisted them. So it's the creative aspect, and let men know it's okay to be creative. Yeah. It's okay to be, I tell guys, I said, like, you're not going to break my heart. I go, you can bruise the fuck out of it. 100%. It'll be bruised, but no one should ever be able to break your heart.
Mm.
You're always connected to source, and yeah, bruising sucks,
Yeah.
and that's where you go from it. So to me, it's just about, hey man, let's power you guys up. We need more powerful men.
Mm.
Powerful men are non-violent.
Yeah.
Powerful men are protective. It's like I can't remember the sniper movie, but there's a difference between the wolf and the sheepdog. Sheepdog protects, and that's in all realms of nature. And I think it's important that violence, it's not necessary. Well, here's my own view on violence and stuff. Because running strip clubs and being bouncers and stuff, out of 26 years, I only had to get physical like 6 times.
Wow.
And my belief system is like, why do I want to hurt someone who, if they're looking for a fight and they're pissed off, they're angry, they're already hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not going to double up on them and beat them down even worse.
Yeah.
I said, that's where you got to come with it from a whole nother level of compassion. I guess that's where I have compassion and empathy. And as far as that goes, to show like, hey, powerful men don't berate women.
Mm.
Powerful men don't abuse women. Yeah. Powerful men don't abuse men.
Mm.
That's it. And so when you have a bunch of really powerful role models around that can teach young kids these days what is moral, then the whole world's going to get better.
Wow.
So that's kind of the aspect that I come from it.
Dude, so powerful. It's like all about empowering others and giving them like clarity on what's really important, the values, the character, the integrity. Like these are super powerful things. And whether you're a man or even a woman, like those things are still powerful. Women might have different like ways of expressing it and living it, but like these things are, I would say, are universal to the human experience and what makes a great human experience,
Absolutely. And like Jared, Jared was on earlier today.
Yeah.
He, me and him are doing something on the 20th of March where, we come in and I love to do the strategic creation and the custom mind states, and he likes to do things. So, there's not a lot of people. That's why I was glad he was on there because he knows what he's talking about. I'm not going to work with people that don't know what they're talking about. Joe Nicasio, there's like, blowing out your business beliefs.
Yeah.
Whereas, he's giving them the strategies and I'm just going in there and hammering people. And it just works. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. If there's like blowing out your beliefs in business, because a lot of people sabotage themselves, Joe has that material. So they could go to Joe Nicasio on that, or they could go, like I said, to my Facebook. And then if you're interested in just like more of the men's stuff and building your confidence and, the sex programs that I have, which is not like, it's educating on sex and things like that, they can go to hypnotica.org. And that's it. And Vimeo, Eric Von Sydow, and that's where you can get a lot of the information that at least I have. Yeah, the Master Circle, and that's on my Facebook, and that's the group. It's free. It's just a great group of guys. So
yeah, well, it's like you're always expanding the library of like what you have to offer and the different modalities and things that you're mastering. Like being a Renaissance man, you're always learning, you're always painting, expressing your art and mastering it. It's always a pursuit of.
I don't know about mastering it, but it's definitely keeping the short as sharp as possible.
That's right. That's right.
Mastering it, yeah.
You're doing it.
Like
it's the continual pursuit of mastery, right? Mastery, I would say, is the continual pursuit of mastery. I don't know if you ever reach a true state of mastery because there's always more to learn. There's always more distinctions. There's more ways to view the world, to view the map, to view the whatever the area of life is, man. So you're crushing it and you're transforming a bunch of men's lives and women too. And just this mindset work that you're doing is rad, man. So they can go to Hypnotica.org. They can go to the men's Facebook group, which is what again? One more time?
The Master Circle.
Master Circle.
So the Hypnotica, the Master Circle, or they can go to Vimeo under Eric Von Sydow to see a lot of the, the advice I have, even some of the music videos and things like this. So good stuff like that.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, I appreciate you being here and the great work that you're doing in the world, man. Keep it up. And just the world is blessed to have you who you're like this example of you don't have to fit into the mold of the stereotype that everyone says about this type of person, right? Like you got tattoos, you worked at a strip club, like some people might jump to certain conclusions about who you are and the character and what your values are. And I love seeing that you are a stand for people being great human beings, meditating, like getting connected with our source and living our greatest possible selves, man. It's freaking awesome.
I appreciate it. That face tattoo, that wasn't for me. That was to watch people out there because when I look like I come out of prison, I'm more entertained by how people respond to me. So a lot of these things, are one of those things where like, let's just see okay, they're watching me. Like they're watching me really good. So it's more of a social experiment to do all the stuff that I do, but I do appreciate it.
I love it, man. I love it. You play in life. That's super
important, way to do
man.
it.
So, dude, thank you for being here, man. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Chris. Continue the good work, bud.